From Barangaroo Studios, the ausbiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Well, hello. Welcome to the COB. I'm Nadine Blaney.
And I'm Juliette Sarli. On this historic day, Nadine, as we continue to see the votes come in the US election, 209 to Harris now, according to AP, 230 to Trump. It does look like the Republicans, have a majority in the Senate.
Yeah, it does look like that has been confirmed. Of course, we still do have the states rolling in. Hawaii has just been claimed by the Democrats, and we have some of those big swing states, obviously, that will take some time to be counted. So we will obviously be keeping one eye to our screens to see the market reaction as well. Now today we did see, you can see there, not a lot of movement in positive territory once those the confirmation that Trump was pulling ahead in some of those key states. We actually saw a waning of appetite for equities here in Australia.
Yeah, and I think the starting point or the kickoff was really just on that positive lead from Wall Street. We've got to remember the overall economic picture looked sound as well with the latest data. And of course, the Fed kicking off its two-day policy meeting where they are widely expected to cut interest rates by 25 basis points. We'll instead get that press conference on Friday rather than Thursday our time due to it being pushed out by the election. So of course, we are talking about the race to the White House here. It is certainly looking more like a Republican potentially sweep. Looks like they've definitely got the Senate. We're still waiting to see the House. And of course, at this stage, Trump in front of those electoral college votes. He appears to have 230. Of course, 270 are needed.
And we've had Bitcoin hit an all-time high, although I was just reading some commentary that Dogecoin, remember that? That's actually the ultimate Trump trade, and that is going parabolic. Flip side to, I guess, some of what's happening out there is the Australian dollar remaining under pressure. Don't forget, we still do have a conversation around rates here in the United States as well, although from what we can ascertain, we've got a bit of a delay happening to that Fed meeting and the media conference that will be held by Jerome Powell after the fact.
And it's also worth noting that not only the Aussie under pressure, I think it's a 7-month low against the greenback. The greenback has spiked the most since March 2020. So a lot of volatility out there as well. And, I was speaking to a number of guests today, but I really liked what Peter Maguire from XM, was saying that, the only clear winner, at least in financial markets, is volatility today.
Absolutely. That is the go. We'll find out from our guest host here with us in studio shortly who the market has been voting for, at least in the market moves. Let's check though with tech. And tech, really a standout today. Look at Technology One at $25.45. I wouldn't be surprised if that might be an all-time high for Technology One. And Zipco in the smaller end of the market, but what a 2024 story. This has been up 6.6%.
All right, having a look as well at the consumer discretionary stocks, another standout sector today. Harvey Norman, Premier Investments, Lovisa, all looking good.
And we've got the banks in focus with good gains being made across the spectrum. Westpac reported earlier this week. NAB reports tomorrow. ANZ on Friday.
All right, so let's have a quick look at some of the corporate stories. We've been focusing very much on the election, but Goodman Group, that was your stock of the day. It expects earnings per share to grow 9% in full year 25. It's got a full year distribution of 30 cents a share. Yeah,
that was the stock of the day, so we'll get some analysis on that one in just a tick. Suncorp held an investor day, reaffirming its underlying insurance trading ratio guidance for FY25 to the top end of the 10 to 12% range.
All right, let's get to our guest, Mark Gardner from MPC Markets, joining us as we are continuing to watch the votes come through. You were talking to me before we came on air about how a lot of traders are looking at the 2016 playbook when Trump won.
Yeah, it seems to be something that it's been repeated and repeated, particularly sort of in the latter parts of this afternoon, the 2016 playbook. So that was generally good for initially because Trump was a shock win in 2016. The markets nosedived a little bit, but then rebounded quite strongly. So, but strong US dollar, strong higher bond yields, and stronger equities, which are all playing out here at the moment. Obviously, we've had 75,000 pipped in Bitcoin today as well. So it is very much going to plan at this stage. But those bond yield, the 10-year bond yields in the US are up around about they're up around about 25 basis points at one stage. And as you can see there, the blue line in the middle there is basically when we cut rates by 50. And we've done nothing but rally ever since. So Jerome Powell will be, probably going onto seek.com or something, or monster.com over there, I suppose. So
if Donald Trump becomes the president of the United States. Yeah, so this is the thing, and this is key. Everybody I've been speaking with lately has been saying this is key. You know, after coming down for so many months, now rising through the month of October, but is that 5%, like, do you use that as a rule of thumb? Go over 5%, and then we see a significant pullback, a correction, a 10% drawdown in equities?
I think it's probably, at the moment, I dare say halfway up this rally, I think where you would have seen people sort of saying, oh, it's done. I think there might be a little bit of short squeezing positions here at the moment. But and it's certainly that capitulation today around that sort of 20 to 25 basis points as well. So I think we're around about 444-ish the last time I checked. I wouldn't expect it to get to 5, but basically the investment thesis is that under Trump it'll be higher growth and higher inflation. So you know, they've got that quick 50 in there, and perhaps that was you know, maybe a little bit predictive, but overall, I mean, obviously clean energy was a real loser, and obviously the oil stocks were a very clear winner last time. I think with Elon Musk being, you know, involved, I think that, you know, I think at the moment we've seen commodities come off today, but I think it's more just, you know, the US dollar strength rather than anything else. I don't think it's necessary, and Aussie dollar weakness is probably going to offset that somewhat. So yeah, look, these playbooks don't necessarily end up, you know, playing out exactly as planned. You know, history always doesn't necessarily repeat. This is a very different situation. So I think, but I think these thematics or these moves will be the market's default for the next probably couple of days, I would imagine. So, but that higher bond yields up here, as it stands at the moment, is it's not a good thing for the equity market overall. It's usually also good for cyclicals and small caps in 2016 as well. So, whereas higher bond yields, not good for cyclicals and small caps. So, market's not making a great deal of sense, I've got to say, at the moment. I think it's just running off headlines constantly.
Yeah, when we look past, you know, maybe in a week's time, we have a clear definitive winner. We know that whatever is going to happen is going to happen. What sort of outperformance are you expecting? Macquarie had a really interesting note that a Republican Queen Sleep is good for Aussie markets. Potentially a Democrat handle in the Senate would be good potentially for healthcare. Is there anything you're looking at?
Particularly, I think a clean sweep realistically in most political systems is a good thing because things will actually get done, whether you agree with it or not. I mean, you've had your chance to vote, that's largely irrelevant, but what we've seen with Congress over the last probably decade or more is that every year they make a fresh record low for how many bills or amendments get passed. So nothing gets done. And I think, you know, every democracy probably benefits somewhat from at least a party having a little bit of clean air to put some policies in.
Yeah.
And then obviously, you know, in 4 years' time, you get to cast your vote again. But getting sort of bogged in the mud really is not good for any economy overall. It might calm Trump down a little bit because he's not going to have anyone to fight with. So if he's got, you know, it's all on him now. So it, you know, his normal, you know, default of just picking a fight with someone and that's how he gets attention, well, there's not going to be anyone to pick a fight with anymore. So.
I don't think we can psychoanalyze Donald Trump at the best of times. And,
very
you know,
true.
very different this time around too. He's aged. He's a different person than he was 4 years ago. And he doesn't have the same structure around him either or the same adults in the room. And that's not an opinion of mine. That's what's been widely discussed. So there's a lot.
He needs an adult in the room.
Yeah, there's a lot of water to go under the bridge between now and I suppose the inauguration as well. So as an Aussie investor though, I repeatedly see James Hardie as being a pick that might stand to benefit from
James.
Really just improved economy in the United States as well.
And not to mention the hurricanes as well. So and then we've already got JLG, Johns Lynd Group. So I think it'll be pro-business, obviously, and you've got to remember as well. I think statistically, Trump actually only executes less than 1 out of 10 things that he actually goes out to try and do. So don't be fooled by the headlines. But I do think that particularly for those industrials or those building materials portions, I think it's a really good combination of those two fairly devastating hurricanes, and then that. that industrial side and small cap side supposedly sort of benefiting from Trump being pro-business. But a lot of water's got to go under the bridge yet. Whether anything actually gets executed is a different matter. I think overall, we've been saying this over and over again, neither candidate's got any solution whatsoever about the US debt. So what I think we'll be wandering into a situation in the next couple of months where we will have a debt ceiling argument, a potential government shutdown, etc. I think that Republican clean sweep probably takes a little bit of that fear out of it, because they'll be able to just push it through. They won't have to negotiate and shut down governments. But someone's going to have to address that debt at some stage. And if it's done the Elon Musk way, there'll be a lot of government cuts. So that's not going to be good for the economy. So there's a lot to weigh up here at the moment. But I think overall we're still fairly happy. I think there's a good opportunity to be selling into the US dollar, personally. I don't think this is going to create any more stability. They're not structurally fixing anything realistically. Neither candidate's really got a plan for that, to be honest. So we're still fairly happy in that, that store of value trade, that gold, silver, etc. And I think you probably buy into commodities, the commodities dip here at the moment.
And we'll see how China reacts as well if there is a Trump presidency, because that also, could potentially bring about a change in tack from China as well.
Yeah, there's a lot up in the air at the moment. So, I mean, we've pushed back to a little bit of cash. Healthcare, I mean, there's talk that he might bring in RFK Jr., which would not be good for Big Pharma, apparently. So, look, I think trying to make any significant investment decision right now is probably a big mistake, and probably just see how things sit in a little bit of cash and see how things wash up over the next few days. Because if we have this blue wave, which the pundits keep talking about, and we start to get a delayed decision or a delayed result, then
I think we've got to remember from 2000, 2008, well, that was quite clear, but 2016, 2020, it took quite some time. So we do have EP calling that the Senate has been taken by the Republicans, 51 seats there. If you were Jay Powell looking at this, and we mentioned that the meeting has now been pushed back a day.
He's putting his CV on C.
Well, but do you change whether you go 50 basis points?
Well, look, I mean, the reaction from bond yields, does it make a difference? I mean, they've cut by 50 and it's rallied nearly 75 basis points since, or more potentially. So I think it is a little bit more of a reflection. They're looking a little bit too far forward, and they probably need to be, I think bond markets need to be pulling themselves back into the reality of now, because that payrolls number was terrible. 12,000 doesn't even cover a tenth of what the immigration inflows. So, and those jobs numbers are worsening. And we've got I think something like 6 out of the 6 most reliable leading indicators of a recession are all flagged at the moment. So I mean, I dare say he will want the bond market to calm down a little bit. So maybe I doubt it, but I hadn't even really thought about 50 being on the table. But if you know you're not going to be in a job next week, you may as well roll the dice.
Well, only that services PMI was so strong last night. I mean, the data, apart from that jobs read, which there was obviously one-offs affecting that, has just been pretty strong. It's been really strong lately.
The BLS actually said that it wasn't affected by the hurricanes very much. So, I mean, it depends on which. And there's been a lot of revisions as well. Like the BLS jobs data has been really patchy of late. But if you look at them as a whole, these rising bond yields that's not going to help the broader economy. I think you've got 30-year mortgage rates back at where they were 6 months ago. So that's also not going to help the housing market. So there's a lot of things at play, and probably the best thing to do is not be reactive and take a breath and see how things roll over the next few days.
As humans, we're not always great at that, but it's a good advice. Mark, thank you. As always, Mark Gardner from MPC Markets with us there. You were on the call today.
I sure was. Goodman Group was the stock of the day. My guests in studio, Philip Pepe from Shaw & Partners and Michael Wayne from Medallion Financial.
Great company, and they made I'm going to call it a pivot. They made a great pivot on investment in data centers early, 12 months, 18 months or so ago, and that's been delivering. That's probably where the bullishness comes from. Their recent result, which was a quarterly, talked about their industrial division. Again, full occupancy, probably start to see rent increases come through if they can get those through in current economic conditions. My view is, I think we will look back in 5 years' time and analysts would have materially, potentially significantly underestimated the growth from data centres and the demand for data centres and what they can deliver.
It's certainly not cheap at the moment, but it's one of those companies that never really screens cheap relative to its peers. We will probably have it as a whole at the moment because it is sort of going through a bit more of a challenging environment when it comes to sort of deploying new money into new projects. There's no doubt that the projects underway will be very lucrative, but then you've got to look into the future as to the cost of delivering those projects.
So a very clear hold from both my guests, only because of price, really. They think it's just such a quality company.
Yeah, interesting. All right, we are still watching what's happening in the US election. AP calling Trump winning North Carolina. The Senate has a majority in, the Republicans has a majority rather in the Senate, 51 seats to the 42 Democrats. Of course, it's a race to 270 electoral college votes. Trump has 230. Harris at this stage has 210.
Yeah, just reading that there are a whole heap of votes yet to be counted in Cambria County, Pennsylvania. About 100, the polls have been extended to 10 p.m., so it might be a very long night to lots of folks in the United States. Right now, let's just focus on what we know and we love, and that is equities here in Australia. Neuren Pharmaceuticals, I did see some news come across my desk.
A US sale, basically, so that was a boost to its share price, up 8%. We started off with a very strong lead for coming through from tech stocks. We've taken that here too, so Zip, Square was also an outperformer today. BlueScope, I think, had an update, and the market liked that, up 6.4%, and Sims Metal and Elders also strong today.
All right, so some good gains being made in terms of percentage gains. On the flip side, though, IGO, the worst performer, down by about 5%, holding its AGM today. Domain also held its AGM today, off by 6.5%. Sayona Mining, lining Town Resources as well.
All right, in the small end of town, BrainChip is there. Tulu Minerals up 25%. Terracom had a good day with an 8.3% gain.
Yeah, no news for Tulu Minerals, just in case you're wondering. And I don't see these names very often at all, do we? But you can see really here the commodity names getting hit hard. To Mark Gardner's point, all that US dollar strength. Not probably working in favor for some of these small to mid cap companies.
All right, let's have a look at what we are going to see tonight. We're kicking off the the FOMC meeting will be the key one that we're looking out for. A global services index for October, and ECB President Lagarde also speaking. Okay,
so what do we have on here tomorrow? Let's take a look ahead. We've got the international goods trade balance coming through for the month of September. So nothing too huge, at least on the data front. And we'll continue to, no doubt, be talking about this U.S. election and all that could flow from that. We'll get you across some stocks that might benefit here as well. Also, don't forget, we do have NAB reporting tomorrow, a whole heap of AGMs, and also Xero's earnings coming through.
All right, well, let's see where the market is. Up 0.8%. Really did get that positive lead coming through from Wall Street. A lot of analysts out there saying, regardless of what you think of who is going to take the White House, it does look like if there is going to be a clear sweep, I guess, of one party, then that's going to be easier for policies to get through. Certainly big moves in Bitcoin in the last hour, as it does look like Trump has the lead. He is, of course, being seen as more favourable to cryptocurrency regulation. The CBO 200 there up 0.8% on the close.
We are watching US Treasury, those pull back from some of their highs. So we'll continue to keep an eye trained on these markets through the next little while. Keep us tuned in tomorrow morning from 9:45 a.m. We're live, and we'll get you through what happens in the US overnight in terms of equity market reaction and, very importantly, bond market reaction.
Yeah, but if you also prefer to buy stocks over socks, Nadine.
Well, I love a sale too.
An ausbiz Cyber Monday is for you. Join some of your favourite ausbiz analysts as they present their stocks on sale. Equities, they say, are undervalued and offer significant upside.
You can register now. You can watch live or on demand. And as always, it's free. It's our little gift to you for this selling season.
All right, well, that does it for this edition, of course, ausbiz.co/cyberfree. Well, Cyber's where you log in. Don't worry about the free, that just comes as an added bonus. But yeah, we'll be back from 9:45 a.m. Eastern, probably a clearer indication there in where financial markets are tracking and also what we are seeing with USA Decides. We'll see you then.